Hey everyone, my name is Nate, and I'm currently working on my second DIY camper van conversion. In the previous video of this van build series, I installed a window in the sliding door of this van. And one big thing I've been missing in this van is heat, but today that is going to change. We are going to be installing an OutEquipPro Diesel Heater in this van, and I am so excited for it. They actually sent me out this diesel heater to test out, so I'm going to install it and review it in this video. And if you guys are looking to purchase this diesel heater, you can use my link down in the description below for a little discount. Before we do install this diesel heater, I actually plan on taping out a layout on the floor. I'm going to use some tape to really set out the guidelines of what this van is going to look like once it's all built out. And I actually plan on installing some of this rubber matting under where the diesel heater is going to go. And I'll get into the reasons why later in the video. Because for now, we got to get to some taping. Alright, and here's your first look at what our rough layout looks like. This might look a little bit confusing to you guys, but to me, this really helps me out when building because it kind of shows me where things are going to be, how much space I have to put those things. But focusing in a little bit closer, this box is going to hold our diesel heater. And there's actually one feature on this diesel heater that I really like, and I haven't seen it on any other diesel heaters that I've seen. This diesel heater has a split attachment, which allows you to route the output in 2 different places. Meaning I can route one hose over to this side of the van and the other one shooting out back. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get to the ducting in this video because that is a whole nother big task that I'm not sure how I'm going to do yet. That's a project for future Nate. I'll leave him to figure it out. But present Nate needs to install new matting under where all that ducting is going to go. So if you ever need to do any work on it, it's going to look real nice and finished, even though it's somewhere you're only going to look probably once every few years. That's kind of my super high expectations for this van right now. Even in a compartment that you'll never see in years, I still want it to be finished. But it is getting a little bit late and a little bit cold, so I'm going to install this mat and install the diesel heater tomorrow. Okay, well, now that that is done, I put some heavy objects on the mat just to help it not curve up in the night when the adhesive is setting. Hopefully this does help it dry pretty flat. Anyways, we're going to come back here tomorrow, see if it's fully set, and if it is, we are going to install the OutEquipPro Diesel Heater. I'm so excited for it. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning. I think our mat is all set in place. Today is the day to install this diesel heater, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let me take some time to show you what is in the box itself. First, we have a rubber gasket, some hose clamps, and some zip ties. We have a fuel hose if you're tapping into a tank, a bunch of accessories, your main fuel line for hooking everything up, a 16-pin main harness, the exhaust muffler, a box full of all of your ducting and some other goodies like a remote control and your 12-volt fuel pump. And finally, the OutEquipped diesel heater. So this is about everything that we have in the box, but I did buy 2 extra things separate. I bought this big mounting plate with a cylinder welded onto it. And the reason why I did this is because I'm cutting through my floor, which has wood and bare insulation. So blocking all that wood and insulation with a little bit of metal makes me feel a lot better when there's going to be a hot exhaust right next to it. And the other thing that I bought for this install is just a little fuel connector that I can use to tap into my own diesel tank, so I don't have to install a separate one. We do know that I want to install my diesel heater somewhere in this area, but we don't know where, so I've got to figure that out. I also brought my hole saw down here so I can test fit and see where the hole should be. So if we're going 11.5, 4 inches up, I think that's our money shot right there. We have enough room, but it is about time to drill this hole. I'm going to first drill one small pilot hole from the bottom up and see how close I got to my mark here. Remember, safety first, everyone. Oh man, it's always so scary cutting holes in your van. But here we go, no turning back now. All right, we made it all the way through. Let's see how close we were to the hole on the inside. I'm very curious. Okay, we were off by just a little bit. You can barely see because it's in black marker, but I marked out right where my finger is. And we cut our hole right there. So I'd say that's a success. That's pretty close. Now I want to say I would not be using a hole saw this large if I did not order that special mounting bracket. Normally you'd only drill 2 to 3 holes for the exhaust intake and fuel line. But in my case, since I'm putting this whole mounting bracket through the floor, I'm cutting a huge hole into my floor. And there's no better time than right now to get it done. Wow, that is a humongous hole. Hello down there. That is a big hole straight through my floor. That's crazy. So now that I've cut through the metal floor, it needs to be treated so it doesn't rust over time. So I have this Rust-Oleum. I know it's black. I just didn't have any other color on me. I forgot to go buy some. And you will never really see this, so it doesn't really matter what color it is. So I'm just gonna spray the inside edge of the metal and we'll be all good to go. Because we just sprayed that Rust-Oleum on the van, we have a bit of downtime before we can do any more work. So I thought I'm just gonna clean up the van right now. It's a catastrophe of a van right now. It is so messy. So I'm gonna just try and clean it up, get it prepared to finally install the diesel heater. And it's supposed to rain later today, so I'm hoping that it either doesn't or we can finish this before it starts raining. So it has been around 45 minutes and that gave me some time to think over what I'm doing, make sure I'm doing it right. And I actually thought I want this to be turned sideways, just like that. And the reason for that is because, remember, this is a split diesel heater. It comes with this piece, hooks on right here, and it splits off into 2 different directions. And it does come with 2 of these hoses. So I'll put the first one here, routing to around the front of the van, and have the second one blowing towards my bed. So I think that is how I'm going to install this diesel heater, is sideways like this. But what I need to do first is put this metal bracket in the hole first. And to seal it all up, I bought a high temperature sealant so it's not going to melt, crack, expand, shrink, or anything if it gets hot. I'm gonna put some of this stuff on the top edge and on the bottom side. You have to be a little bit conscious of which way you mount this bracket because there's a little hole for your fuel right there. Personally for me, I'm going to install this little hole closest towards the wall. Before we fully install this heater, we need to do some preparation on this diesel heater first. All right, to prep the diesel heater to get installed, we're gonna need two things out of the box, which I'll show you what you need. The first thing that you're gonna need is just this rubber gasket to go right on top of the diesel heater, just like this. The second thing that you're gonna need is 4 of these standoff screws. And you're gonna screw the short end into the unit just like this. There's 4 of them. And this is what your diesel heater should look like. And now we are ready to drop our diesel heater into place. Okay, so it's probably about an hour after I put that diesel heater in, and I totally forgot something. You also need to route a cable through that hole for the fuel pump as well, and I totally forgot to do that. So I have disconnected the diesel heater, and I'm going to reattach it with the right cable in there. So make sure to route this end of the cable in first into the air intake, and once that's routed in, you can put your diesel heater back into place like that. For this next part, we are going to need 4 nuts that fit onto those standoff screws that we just put in. Next, we are going to connect our fuel tube to our fuel line. And to do this, it might be a little bit tricky, but you just need to push the fuel line as far as you can into the fuel tube. Once you feel like you've put the length of a hose clamp in there, go ahead and slip your hose clamp on and tighten it down. Once you have that securely fastened on, make sure to put a second hose clamp on first. And to attach this, we are just going to push it onto the little spout. And make sure it is all the way on. Next, you are going to need your air intake hose with 1 hose clamp on it. Push it all the way into place. And then we're going to tighten that hose clamp. Oh my God, not having the right tools to do this specific job is torture. The last thing that you need is an exhaust pipe with, again, another hose clamp. Just slide it onto place and tighten up the hose clamp. So it is actually a new day. Yesterday it was just getting way too cold and I forgot a few necessary tools to finish the install. So unfortunately I did not finish the install last night, as you can see, but now we've got some daylight. It's going to be a lot easier to get this done now that I have my tools. So let's carry on with the install. The next few items that we're going to need for this install is the exhaust muffler, the fresh air intake filter, the fuel pump, and the fuel holder, as well as some appropriate hose clamps. The next thing on our list of things to do is put our air filter on our fresh air intake. Slip your hose clamp on there first and slap on your air filter. Then fully tighten up your hose clamp. Take one of these little clamp things, put it over your hose, and mount your air intake wherever you see fit. And personally, I think right there is good for me. And I'm using one of the included self-tapping screws to drill into the van frame itself. I like to keep my air intakes a little bit higher in the van, just because on my old van I put it a little bit lower and it gets splattered with a lot of mud and dirt if you're going off-roading. Alright, time to connect the muffler onto the exhaust pipe. I would suggest putting this mounting bracket onto the muffler first. It's just attaching with a bolt and a nut. This will help you mount the muffler later on. And now looking at this exhaust, it has some weird cap on it. So it looks like I'm going to need to cut this off. But looking at the place where I'm actually going to place my muffler, I think I'm actually going to cut it quite a bit shorter, maybe even up here, so it can bend in and reach into the muffler a bit easier. Wow. You might want to find a better way to cut this. Use a hacksaw to cut this or something. Don't do what I'm doing. And then we're going to slip our muffler right onto the tube, just like that, and tighten up this hose clamp. When you are mounting this muffler, try and angle it so it is pointing out and away from your van. And so you can see our exhaust pipe is pointing out and away from the van. Doing this helps prevent the exhaust fumes from wafting back up into your van and getting stuck under here. So always try and vent this away from your van. and I accidentally cut my thumb, so I'm gonna need a band-aid real quick. We are all bandaged up, but now we need to install our little fuel pump. And by the way, guys, this is no ordinary fuel pump. This is designed to be much quieter than your average fuel pump. And to mount this, we are going to need this little rubber piece, which slips right onto the fuel pump. And now you can mount this pretty much wherever you want to, wherever is best for your situation, just by using a self-tapping screw, putting it somewhere into the van frame. The one thing that I recommend doing with these fuel pumps is angling it at about a 45-degree angle. There are a lot of people online that say angling it at 45 degrees helps it with efficiency or something along the lines of that. I don't really know. All right, I've run into a little bit of an issue. This venting system is kind of getting in my way from getting my drill in the position where I want to mount my fuel pump. So I'm actually gonna have to go really close, which isn't bad, but it's just not my ideal scenario. All right, that doesn't look too bad. How's your install going so far? I hope it's going good, but we are going to move on to the next phase of this installation. Connecting your diesel heater to your diesel tank in your van. So I'm gonna want you to grab pretty much all of your hoses here, your little fuel filter, and if you're tapping into your diesel tank, you can grab this piece out too. Now to use this piece, I had to buy some 5/16 fuel hosing. And over here, I just have 2 pieces of copper to merge the larger hose onto the smaller one. And we're actually going to start at the diesel heater, work our way back to the fuel tank. And we're going to take our line that's connected to our diesel heater and estimate roughly about the length to the pump. So that should be enough for me. Now that you have cut the hose, we can try and push it as far as we can into one of these tubes again. And then we can push this other side onto the fuel pump. We're gonna make sure this slides on all the way. Take your hose and push it into another one of these tubes. And we can go ahead and connect this to the other side of the pump. And finally, plug in your fuel pump if you haven't done that already. And from here, we're going to bring our fuel line all the way over here. And this is going to be different for everybody depending on what type of van you have and if you're tapping into the actual diesel tank or having an external one. So I know I'm going to need roughly about this amount, but I'm going to cut off a lot extra just so I can get rid of all this. Now there is 2 ways you can tap into your diesel tank, and one is super easy, one is very difficult. The difficult one being dropping your fuel tank right down and tapping into the top of it. The very easy way being is if you have a Mercedes Sprinter and if you have an S-bar heater down in the bottom here, and you may not even known you had it. In a lot of Sprinter vans, if you go to the end of the driver's side door and look under, there is an S-bar heater. These typically only get used if you're in a very cold area of the world. These heat up your engine's coolant and warms the engine block before you start it up. But in most cases, we can just take the fuel line from here and tap in our own line. And if you really wanted to, you could even buy a T connector so you could have fuel going to your S-bar heater and diesel heater at the same time. Personally for me, I just bought an L connector because I know we are never going to use this. If we're looking at this heater from the bottom, look a bit left and you will see this line and this connector right here. Now yours would be connected like this, but I accidentally broke mine. But it is very easy to get off. You just pinch both sides pretty hard and pull off. And then we're going to tap into this. Now I'm going to take my L and I'll link this in the description of this video as well. But all you do is push it on till you hear click. Can be a little bit tricky. There you go. And now I'm going to push my own hose onto this connector. Now coming from our tank, we are going to install our fuel filter. And I don't know if you can see that on the fuel filter, but it actually has a little diagram of which way the diesel should be flowing. It's a little tough, but make sure you get it in all the way. And then put one more of these on here. We are going to bring over our line that's coming from the fuel pump and measure out exactly how much we're going to need. Now I plan on strapping all this stuff up high so it's out of the way. I think right about here is where I'm going to want it. All right, so let's make our final connection. Take your fuel line from the fuel pump and connect it to the fuel filter. Sometimes it can be helpful to get some pliers to really shove this in far. Perfect. So we have our fuel tubing going to our connection where the S-bar heater would have been plugged in, connecting to our fuel filter, then our line going to our fuel pump. Now at this stage, you're going to want to use some of the included accessories to mount everything up high and all out of the way. Whew. Wow, I was under that van for a little bit longer than I would have liked to be. But we are completely done being uncomfortable under the van. We can finally power on this unit. But I know you may be thinking, how are you going to fire this up? You have no battery bank in here. Well, I'm actually just going to steal the battery out of my dad's van for about a day. I really want to see if, for one, this thing turns on and how well it performs. So we're going to do that. We're going to hook everything up real quick. Now, there is one thing that I forgot to film that I should have, and that is with the wires to connect your fuel pump. You're going to have the one that you routed through your floor and the one that's connected to the 16-pin main harness. Both of these cables come like this without the connector installed. I've looked online and nobody talks about this, so I want to be the one that does talk about it. The plastic housing does come in the kit. All you need to do is push them into place. You need to push both of these connectors into the bottom side of this plastic housing. It doesn't matter which way you put it in. They're both yellow. Just stick them in the bottom and you're good to go. Once you have both of these connectors made, we are good to plug everything in. Normally you would put these on your fuse block, but since this has a fuse and I don't have a fuse block, I'm just going to put these right on my battery terminals. Wow, look at that. It has a bunch of little stuff on there to tell you stuff. So the first thing that we need to do is prime the pump. And it looks like in settings here it says manual oil pump. So I'm guessing that's what it is. Okay, I had to do some reading online about this, but listen, if I turn this knob, it will start the pump. Hear that? We'll leave this running for a little while, but we want to see fuel enter the fuel filter there. It might be hard to see, but our fuel filter is filled with diesel. Alright, so the fan's on. It has that typical diesel heater electronic noise going on right now. And you can just barely see some smoke coming out of our exhaust here. And you can see it is pushed right out of the van, which is exactly what I wanted. Oh, we got heat. We have heat in the van. So far, I am so happy with that little unit. It is much more advanced than I thought it was. It actually has Bluetooth too, which I had no idea about. The quality of parts that comes in this kit are so good compared to the other diesel heaters that I bought in the past, and I really don't know how OutEquipPro do it for so cheap. They have this unit up for $350, which is insane compared to the quality you get in some of the other ones that are around this price range. For example, you have a really nice controller here that has automatic on and off, and you can set the temperature and everything. Not only that, but it also comes with a remote control that you can keep up in your bed. And if you don't like both of these controllers, it has Bluetooth. You can just connect it to your phone. And it gets even better, because if you are interested in buying one of these heaters, you can click the link in the description or comments below and use code VLN20 at checkout for $20 off your order. I want to give a massive shout out to OutEquipPro because they sent me this unit out to test, and personally, I love it. I think it is just perfect for this van build. So again, use my unique link down below and use code VLN20 for $20 off your order. I know this video kind of transitioned from a vlog into a tutorial, but don't worry, next week we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. But to give you guys something a little bit more exciting before this video ends, I'm actually going to read your comments from last video. I also have to clean up this entire van. So I'll see you guys once it's cold. All right, and we are back. Our temperature sensor says 7 degrees right now, but it is actually 5 degrees outside. I'm gonna turn on this diesel heater, read some of your comments, and see how hot it gets in here in that time. The comments that I'm going to be reading are from this video right here, my last upload. The first comment says, I'm sure your dinner was good. It just looked really dry. Needed some 90-second rice to go with it. I totally agree. If I had some rice to put on the bottom of that, I think it would have made the meal 10 times better. But after that video, I think I made that dinner like 4 nights in a row. So I got better at making it, and I did make it with rice actually last night. And it was really good. So if I ever do make that again in the van, I'll make sure to bring some rice. This next comment is in response to my other van's problems. I said in that video that I think it has some transmission issues, and this commenter says, check out your drive shaft, shake it hard, it should not move. You may need U-joints. So I thought, let's actually go check that right now. And we'll just let it heat up in there. And here it is, the one and only, parked here until we can get it looked at. All right, here's our drive shaft here. Let's give it a shake. Seems to be pretty sturdy to me. Tell me if that's normal when you're parked. If it turns just a little bit. It seems to be pretty solid when you shake it. Let's get back in here. Ooh! It's nice and toasty in here. Oh my, this is nice. If I had this diesel heater on my road trip to Kelowna, I don't think I would have gotten sick. Well, unfortunately, I don't think that was the issue, but it was worth a try, right? And the last comment that we'll read for tonight is 19 minutes old. It says, can you help me with my van? Unfortunately not physically, but if anyone watching does have any questions about your own van builds, leave them down in the comments and I will get back to you. Again, I am not the smartest van builder, I'm not the best van builder, but I have built one and I'm working on my second. I've done a lot of the jobs that are typically seen in a van build. So hopefully I can give you guys some useful information to help you in your own van build. That's all the comments I'm going to read for this video, and if you want to be featured in a future video, make sure to leave your comments down below and maybe I'll read it next video. Oh wow, that is pretty good. Remember, we started at 7 degrees Celsius on this controller and now we're sitting at a comfortable 18 degrees Celsius. We are actually going to shut that off for now and close out this video. I hope you guys still enjoyed this video despite it being more of a tutorial. And I also want to say one more huge thank you to OutEquipPro. All their links are going to be in the description. Use code VLN20 for $20 off your order. And if you do decide to buy one of these diesel heaters, you will be happy because these units are quality, I promise you. And if you have made it this far into my 25th video, I cannot thank you enough. If you want to see more of this van build, I will put another video of this build right here. Consider subscribing to the channel, maybe even like or comment. It really does help out the channel. With all of that said, I will see you guys next time.